Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Who shall dwell in thy holy hill? Psalm 15:1. David opens this psalm with two profound questions that pierce the core of human spiritual longing. These are not casual inquiries, but urgent appeals from a soul seeking divine fellowship. The psalmist recognizes that approaching God requires specific qualifications. The psalmist uses the covenant name Yahweh, emphasizing God's personal relationship with his people. David doesn't address a distant deity, but the God who makes and keeps promises. The name Lord carries the weight of divine faithfulness and unchanging character. The word abide suggests permanent residence rather than temporary visitation. David asks about sustained fellowship with God, not brief encounters. This verb implies ongoing relationship, continuous communion, and settled peace in God's presence. Thy tabernacle refers to God's earthly dwelling among his people. The tabernacle represents divine presence made accessible to humanity. Here, God meets with his people through prescribed worship and sacrifice. The tabernacle symbolizes both God's holiness and his desire for fellowship. The parallel question about dwelling in thy holy hill refers to Mount Zion, where the tabernacle stood. This holy mountain represents the place of divine worship and presence. Zion becomes the focal point of Israel's spiritual life and God's earthly throne. Both questions address the same fundamental issue. What qualifies someone for intimate fellowship with the holy God? David recognizes that not everyone can approach God. Divine holiness demands specific requirements from those who seek his presence. The structure of this passage reveals careful thought. David uses parallel constructions to emphasize his point. Abide and dwell express permanence. Tabernacle and holy hill describe the same location. The repetition drives home the urgency of the question. This psalm follows Psalm 14, which describes human corruption and folly. Having painted a dark picture of humanity's spiritual condition, David now asks, who can escape this corruption and enjoy God's fellowship? The contrast is deliberate and striking. Old Testament worship required careful preparation and specific qualifications. The book of Leviticus outlines detailed requirements for priests approaching God. Physical defects, ceremonial uncleanness, and moral failures all disqualified people from divine service. Holiness was not optional. David does not suggest that God's presence is inaccessible. Rather, he seeks to identify the characteristics that enable such fellowship. Hope underlies the inquiry. These verses establish the theme for the entire psalm. The following verses will answer these opening questions by listing specific qualifications. David provides both the question and the answer, creating a complete picture of godly living. Jesus Christ provides the ultimate answer to these questions. John 1:14 declares, "And the Word was made flesh, and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth." Hebrews 4:14-16 explains how believers gain access to God. "Seeing then that we have a great high priest that is passed into the heavens, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold fast our profession. For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need." Contemporary believers face the same fundamental question. They long for genuine fellowship with God, but wonder about their qualifications. Past failures, present struggles, and ongoing weaknesses create doubt about their acceptability. Many people assume they can approach God on their own terms without regard for His holiness. Others despair of ever meeting divine standards and avoid seeking God altogether.